It's Eddie with Craftsmanship Counts, bringing you a new stream with a couple of buddies. Stephen Diamante, you're going to have to correct me on that, Stephen, and Luca Leva. And we're going to be working on a kata. It's a fairly complex kata. We'll have a lot of good opportunities for us to demonstrate different techniques. We're going to try to do double loop TDD. Let me bring the team in here, and of course in an ensemble environment. So let me bring the team on here, and Luca, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, right now we're getting echo though.
I mean, maybe you have both of them open, so maybe.
Yeah, if you go to the Twitch channel, make sure that you mute it, because it won't be an echo. It'll actually be coming back out of Twitch, but it'll be delayed, and so it'll feel like an echo. That I had to learn that when I started streaming. Yeah.
Oh, and now I can't hear you.
Perfect. How about now?
Yeah, we hear you.
All right. So to introduce myself, I'm Luca Leva. I am a junior software engineer. I've been a professional engineer for a little over a year. Prior to that, I've been in tech for about a decade, mostly as a Scrum Master and an Agile coach. Prior to that, a decade in the military. And yeah, here to learn, excited to see what I can accomplish and do. So.
And he's one of my favorite humans, guys. He's a great guy. He's speaking with humility. Stephen, correct me on how to say your last name and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, Stephen Diamante.
Diamante.
Yeah, so yeah, I've been a developer for about 5 years now. I started in extreme programming, so been pairing and doing test-driven development since the beginning. And just really into teaching people the things that I've learned, and I'm really excited to work with y'all.
I think this is going to be a great stream. Yeah. Just FYI, this was Stephen's idea to do this, but I think it's going to be so awesome. I think we got a really good mix of folks here. Luca, don't hold back, buddy. If you got questions, like one of the things that makes me excited is that you're eager to learn, and you're going to bring some of those new guy questions, right? So don't be shy about bringing them.
Yeah, no, I hope with all my questions, stuff like that, I want to ask them and be more intentional about it for anybody else who's watching this, who's a junior engineer or even interested, and you hear about these concepts and you think that maybe they're beyond your reach. They're likely not. You just need different touch points to them.
Absolutely. All right, let's bring our work in, and we started a little bit ahead of you guys to get a couple of things going here, and we're kind of working through our working agreement. Let's see. Let's go ahead, and we've got our timer. Do you guys actually have the timer up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're using mob time, and let's lean into that. And there's no reason that, at least for the sake of the typist. And so, So I'm Eddie. I'm navigating.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What's that?
So, Luke, you may not have seen this. I steal this from Llewellyn Falco, and we do a call out as we go along. So I would say I'm Eddie. I'm navigating. You'd say I'm Luke. I'm the typist.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen would say I'm Stephen. I'm next. And then the person who's the typist is always in charge of the keyboard and the mouse. So the typist starts the timer.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the typist is going to position themselves to be ready, which there's not really much to do because we're using Tuple app to share that, and so we should be where we need to be, and then we'll do the call out, and then we'll start the timer. All right. So I'm Eddie. I'm navigating.
I am Luca. I am the typist.
I'm Steven. I'm next.
Okay. and you started it already. I would normally
Mhm.
start it after the call out, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay, so Lucas the typist. So I'm going to take my hands off the keyboard, and we were working through this. I'm going to kick the preview in. Just I'm kind of curious how. Yeah, okay, that looks. So what do we think? We've got the roles, and we kind of talked a little bit about how we want the roles to work, our ensemble style. We want to keep the strong style thing. Anything else?
Yeah, we were talking briefly. We put a pin in it because, again, as you look here, navigator, we're communicating the intent of what we're trying to accomplish at a high level. And so I had questions in there about, all right, how could I successfully do this as the person on our ensemble with the least amount of tech experience and knowledge?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so the way that the navigator will communicate to the typist is you always start really high level. So for example, you're familiar with FizzBuzz, right? Let me use that as a default example. And, and so if I were navigating you in FizzBuzz, I would say, hey, let's try, let's do one next, right? And in the content, and I'd probably say, let's do one, and of course we expect that that's just going to give us one back, right? And so you would take that off, you would write the test, you would see it fail, right? And then you may even it may be straightforward enough that you may be able to do the implementation, right? I'm not here to give you blow by blow. The whole thing we're trying to do when we work in an ensemble is we're trying to group work this, but we want to get to flow. And so we want to communicate. We have to communicate effectively to make that happen. But if the more we have to communicate, it's going to slow us down a little bit, and it will impede flow a little bit. That's okay if it's needed. But the more we get used to the language and the tooling and working with each other, the less that will be necessary, and the higher our flow will become. So it goes like this: intent is first. If intent is not enough, if I say, hey, let's do one, and that's not enough for you, then and you would say, I might say, yeah, line 14 is good, we can do it there. And if that's not enough, now I would say, okay, so put your cursor at the end of line 13, hit enter, and here's what I want you to type. Right, so it's intent, location, detail. And we always go through this because I don't want to recognize, this is a new driver, and then constantly go to detail. I'm robbing you of the opportunity to force yourself to think about what you're doing, and forcing you to think about what you're doing is where a lot of learning happens on your part, right? So and this is an anti-pattern that a lot of experienced people fall into, like, I just got to tell the person. No, we want to constantly give you an opportunity as a newcomer to have to think about it, to digest the things that we're talking about, and turn that into a materialized behavior. And that's really a very important part of the learning process. So does that make sense? Did that help?
Especially this right here: intent, location, and detail. I think that's very helpful. Yeah, I hope any other junior developers that was helpful as well.
Nice.
Yeah, and then another thing, Luca, if you're the navigator and just ask us for help. Like, if you don't know what to do next, like, that's an opportunity for us all to talk and, like, what are we gonna do next?
Yeah.
Because there's another important. This might not come up too much because we're a small ensemble, but there's the yes and rule, I think, is important in an ensemble. So that just means that, like, if the last navigator was going off on one direction, we want to pick up where they were going and continue in that direction, and not say, let's go this totally different way. So
Yes.
So that's an important thing to throw out too.
Yeah, and the basic rule that Stephen's talking about there is we want to always continue. We always want to continue on the same path until we discover that it can't work, or we have made it work, right? and we agree as an ensemble. Um, every time so as a coach, when I see people, and this is a very common new to working in an ensemble behavior, everybody wants to take it a different way. Nothing gets done except for you make a huge mess. But when you lean into just really taking the ensemble going one direction collectively, it takes a little while to get in sync, and then you're just dangerous, man. You just beat stuff up, and nothing can survive you. Yeah. So yeah. What else? That was really great. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Y'all added some really great stuff in here. I like the yes and rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Typist. I mean, that seems pretty clear. Maybe if there's anybody watching, if y'all have other questions or suggestions, that would be interesting to hear from.
Yeah, I think one thing with that as a typist, it's kind of like the no thinking, like to really just listen to the navigator and the ensemble, and yeah, I mean, if we're doing this really strict style, it's you should listen to the navigator, and then the person in the ensemble will communicate their ideas to the navigator, and then the navigator will say, okay, I like that idea, and they will communicate that to the typist. That's like the strict style. We can go away from that since there's just three of us. But what do you think about that, Eddie? Do you about the strictness of that rule?
Yeah, I like it. I think that the thing that makes ensembles work is the collaboration, and so anything that gets you away from that is bad, and anything that pushes you into that is good. I just think it's good. I do feel a little like I think we've got a rotation. Who's driving now?
Oh
Who's
yeah.
our typist? So Stephen, you're going to take over typing.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with all of us talking right now, by the way, and basically just using the timer to rotate typist. I think that we want everybody's thoughts in on this.
Right now that concluded, we just go back through, and I'm like, I'm Luca, I'm the navigator. Do we have to redo that?
Yeah, we should do that. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, and that'll, I guess, kick off this next cycle. So yeah, Luca, the navigator for right now.
I'm Steven, I'm the typist.
I'm Eddie, I'm next.
Luca, you mind if I kind of reformat this? Maybe
please do what you need to do.
Can do a little sub indentation here.
Yeah, I was more worried about getting the words down.
There you go.
That's all good.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to do.
Definitely lean into making a mess and then cleaning it up. I think that's a good TDD approach.
Yeah, we're refactoring our markup right now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So we have roles. Do we want to talk I think in a working agreement, I don't know, I should let Luca talk about this, but I was gonna say about respect and that kind of stuff. I think it's always good to just we already talked about that with Luca being a little bit newer to some of the concepts, and that we encourage you to ask questions and stop us, and we will educate the masses about what we're doing here.
Yeah, so you're talking about we could just jot down some ground rules.
So one of the things that resonates with me, Stephen, when I hear you talk about it, that is, I've got another ensemble I work in with Gregor Riegler and Nitsan Avni and some other folks, and the thing I really love about that is we're pretty we lean into learning. And when I say we lean into learning, what I mean is if something comes up we need to talk about, we just stop and talk about it. Timer is it's out there, but we're the timer is not our slave. We're using it to help facilitate. But if we need to stop and talk about something, we talk about it, because learning, the thing that makes us more effective is the knowledge that we have, right? So, and we want to try to level all of our knowledge as we go. So, I've yet to see a time when taking time to understand something as a group was a bad thing. In fact, I can tell you from, and maybe you've seen this too, Stephen, as somebody who's worked in more ensembles also. But it seems like every time we take a second to get on the same page, my God, we just trounce the next stuff that comes along because we're aligned, right?
Yes.
So
for sure. Yeah.
I don't know how we want to write that down, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Well, I think, Stephen,
timer
earlier you
as a
shared out some of
guide
these.
instead of a god.
Earlier you shared out some of these ensemble enablers
Yeah.
that I think that they could help guide our ground rules here.
Oh my
Like this
gosh.
bias to action.
For sure. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, forgive me if I accidentally yank us off something. We're still learning to live with two
Yeah.
This is, I think, new to all of us. It seems
Yeah.
to be working really great.
Yeah, it's good.
I really like this one: kindness, consideration, and respect. I
Yeah.
feel like that hammers a lot on what we're talking about.
Oh yes.
This one's interesting. No decisions at the keyboard.
Yeah, I think we kind of got that through this listen to the navigator and
Yeah.
ensemble. Probably
Agreed.
we could add on to it. One that I've used is pause the timer because I've been in some ensembles with people that are new to this, and they do feel like the timer is their slave, and they're rushing, and also we have a limited amount of time, so I think they want to make sure that they have enough time because sometimes we only have like 2 hours, and there might be a lot of people there.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is just pause the timer, and then we can just have a conversation and not have any of the rules and just get on the same page. And
Yeah.
I found that effective. Not that we have to do that today, but just throwing it out there.
I'm good either way.
Yeah.
I think one of the anti patterns I see, especially in newcomers, is they feel like work happens when you're typing, but typing is just recording of solutions we've already come to. The hard part is determining where we want to go. The code is not the hard problem. Well, maybe if you're working in a new library or something. But, so I have really mixed feelings about that.
Typing is not the bottleneck.
Like typing is not the bottleneck. Typing,
I like that.
yeah. The collaboration is where the work happens, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ask questions. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other phrase after that is just don't suffer in silence, right?
Right.
You're only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Well, and also the team.
Okay. Maybe we can, I don't know, if is there anything else that kind of, I feel like we're slowing down on these working agreements, so maybe we can just add to it as we go and things come up.
That's my preference.
Too. Yeah. I think this is a good start, and frankly, especially like I know you guys, you're both good humans. I don't think that we need a lot of things to censor us, and yeah. So
do you think maybe the next step would be to just kind of understand the problem domain?
Love that. Yeah. You want to take, Stephen, since you're more familiar with this, you want to just kind of take us through this?
Yeah. So, this exercise comes from technical coach Marco. I don't know his last name. Marco C. He wrote a book called with a couple other coaches called Agile Technical Practices Distilled.
Yes, that's a great book.
And on the chapter about outside in TDD, this was an example. Every chapter they'll include some katas that you can work through and use some of the concepts that they've talked about. So this is like a text adventure game where you're kind of like navigating around like a cave, and you're basically trying to like get out of the cave. So they explain some of it, much like working on user stories and as a professional developer, they explain some things and the rest is kind of left to the imagination and you kind of figure it out. um, so so console application. um, so that we'll have the player input some set of commands, and the world is a collection of locations: north, south, east, west. There's like doors and passages and gates and stairs. The player can move among them using the cardinal points for directions. Um, and it is possible to look in other directions, but not all the directions are always available to be looked at, nor to move in or move to. And then there's also treasures hidden, and you also like kind of keep score of the treasure. So at the end, you'll have some kind of like total that you walk out of the cave with. And the game terminates when So the game terminates when you exit the catacomb, and the score is the sum of the treasures that you've collected. So so it has like different things here that we can decide like what's the easiest thing to start with. So you have like looking. There's a whole section on that. There's just the startup. And there's also, I was looking online. There's also like a similar game. I mean, because this is a game that like I don't know if y'all I played this before, but I mean, this is like a game from like the 70s, and so I mean, I did play. I played it the other day. Like, I found something online, and I was not very good at it, and I got stuck, and I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, when I saw it, the thing that came to mind is I remember back in college, I grew up in a Unix and C environment in college, and it was fairly primitive compared to what we have nowadays, but um, there was a thing called multi-user dungeons. We would call them MUDs. And you would basically telnet over to this game, right? And your shell that you telnetted into was the game. And so you would have like a username and stuff that we get created. But then you're in this. It's basically like an MMO, like a text-based MMO, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe not MMO, but yeah.
This one isn't MMO, but yeah. Hey, Gaffa, W Gaffa, nice to see you there.
What's MMO?
A massive multiplayer online.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not a huge gamer.
Maybe like World of Warcraft or League of Legends,
cool.
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But
the graphics just weren't as good.
Yeah. These graphics will not be good because it'll just be words.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, depending on screen resolution, they could be amazing if the text looks crisp.
Yeah. So, all right. I guess we can rotate, and I'm the navigator.
Okay. And then
then Eddie can type, and maybe we'll just take the maybe the startup. Let's just. I guess we just.
All right, I'm gonna start our turn. What would you like, sir?
So trying to think of how the acceptance test will, what do we want to do with that? Like, how do we like slice this up into different features, or like what's the entry point? Because this first one is just output. This is just what we see. Should we want to test that? Like a scenario is just the startup. And I guess we can just kind of build on that where it makes sense. So yeah, let's start with the feature test. The .feature file. And we can rename this file to Katacombs.feature for now. Down at the bottom, rename. Yeah. And yeah, I think they actually spelled it with a K because like a Katacombs.
Oh, did they? Oh, yeah. Well,
it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, but
it's a pun that I appreciate.
Yeah. So scenario can be startup. And I guess we can say when I don't think we need any given because we could throw a given in here. I would just say when the game starts, something like that. Like when the game starts, then the title and main description is shown, or the title screen is shown. When the game starts, the title screen is presented. And yeah, does that look good? We can run that test, and it'll actually. Oh, another thing we can do. You can actually use the context actions, and it should create it without even running the test. So there's two different ways to do it. You can either run the test and it'll generate.
As your typist, I'm going to ask a clarifying question. I'm not trying to make a decision at the keyboard, but usually, isn't when usually some stimulus on a state, and given is more of like an arrange or a setup sort of thing?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you talking about arrange, assert, and act, like the 3A, or?
They're similar. Like given, when, then is similar to arrange, assert, and act. Okay. And so what Eddie's saying is that, yeah, I arrange things in a certain way, and then when is some action that I'm giving it, like I act.
Then I assert. And I also had questions because my unit testing knowledge and stuff like that is very minimal. I have yet to get to some of my resources to do that, but this looks very different than a J unit test that I've seen.
Yeah, it is. So we're gonna have natural language backing this that anyone would be able to read and understand, and then these phrases are gonna link up to a JUnit test that actually executes some code. So yeah, given a new game, that makes a lot more sense.
That was my question. I was just trying to make it concrete. Do you like that, or you don't like that?
I like that. I think given a new game, when the game is started, right? Like, we're gonna start playing the game.
Yeah, given there's a new game, when that game starts, then the title screen is presented. Yeah, that makes sense.
The game, I think maybe just when the game starts, I think is more concise. Okay. Given a new game, when the game starts, then the title screen is presented. Yeah, I think that's great.
Okay, so we got a failure, and you were saying.
I was saying there's two ways to do this. You can either copy what's down here, and then you have to put that in a step definitions test, or you can actually put your cursor on line 9, 10, and 11 where the yellow is, and use the context actions in IntelliJ, and it'll create. You can even say create all. There's one, if you cancel, you can say create all step definitions, and then just name that file.
Like that?
Yeah. I think that's even better than copying it.
Nice.
Okay.
Eddie, I did notice one thing. Your brackets on here, they're kind of C sharp style. It's kind of
I didn't tweak this at all.
giving me
So
anxiety. I don't know.
I didn't tweak this at all. So what do we not like?
See how the brackets are like underneath, like this. Can you see me highlighting that?
Yeah.
Like that should be like at the end in Java.
Well,
I
okay.
think both are permitted because I don't know, the current Java book I'm working through has the brackets kind of in that same style a lot.
I guess I'm not used to it.
Yeah,
I can
agree
deal
with you.
it. I just wanted to.
What do we prefer as a group?
I kind of prefer, the way that Steven was talking about it, where you have the opening bracket right after the closing parenthesis.
Okay. Let's see. Wrapping. Where is that? Where is that at? Is that here? Switch. Wrap.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's gonna be.
Braces.
Braces placement. Yeah, not end of line. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always end of line. Okay, here we go.
Lambda. Yeah, that's better.
And then other, and I don't know what this is.
Probably just all end of line. I can't think of any situation where. Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. I'll conform. I don't like that, but you guys outnumber me.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's good for everybody to have a little bit of dissatisfaction.
Okay. Timer went off.
Okay.
Yep. Let's see. I'm Eddie. I'm navigating.
I'm Luca. I'm the typist.
I'm Steven. I'm next.
All right. Here we go. All right. What do I type?
Yeah. So let's see. What's so let's you ought to be able to rerun the feature file. And actually, there should be a shortcut. I think it's Shift F10.
I think also Shift R. No, my bad.
I use the IntelliJ key bindings. Again, we can change that if you guys don't like that.
Shift F10. Does that work?
I think Shift F10 should work.
Well, who's on Mac or Windows?
I'm on Mac.
Okay, so it's going to be Option.
What's Control F5?
Control Option R.
No, it's Control F5.
If you could just not type, I can. Control F5. You said.
You know, I just press the button.
Yeah.
It's not working, so I'm going to just press the button.
Okay. Yeah, that says it should be Control F5. So, okay, so, yeah, so we've got our step defs. So what's in our step defs? I don't think that should have passed. So let's look at our step defs.
Yeah, I guess because it doesn't actually throw the exceptions that it does when you copy it. So I guess that's one drawback of that.
Do we want to? I can't help but ask the question: do we want him to get into title screens and all that, or do we? I guess if we're building a game for people to play, I guess it depends upon whether we think that we're going to deploy this and play it, or we're using it as predominantly an exercise to work through.
I guess it's not really a title screen. It's like the intro. It says like you're in a cave. Like it says like it's basically the prompt to start the user starting to do inputs. So
Yeah, so would that be like using the, I guess, system printout and scan to get their information put in? Is that something that's just basically, yeah, it's just running through text, right?
yeah, I mean, right now we're talking about system out, but then this would be the prompt to get some system in. So we can, because we're doing double loop TDD, we can try to make this a little bit bigger of a, like maybe we don't just talk about this. I don't even think this is a startup. This probably isn't a title screen. Probably this is the prompt for the user. I think that's a more accurate statement.
Like, wouldn't this
like
be a
that.
prompt of, do you want to play a new game?
I like that.
Well, I think it just starts. I think it would just start as,
Okay.
what do you want to do? Like you're in a cave, and then you just start moving, looking, and those kind of things. So
Yeah, I mean, for the sake of the kata, I think that's fine. I like where you're going with that, Stephen. Luca, so Luca, let's change this instead of then the title screen is presented, and we'll say then the user is prompted for action.
yeah,
Then we are prompted. We are prompted for action. The game prompts us for action. I don't know. What do you think? I don't. I'm just playing with
then
some
the
words.
user is prompted. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before
Fine.
I change that, should I have done that as a refactoring for the step definitions?
I don't know. I think you're doing it just fine, bud. I don't know.
Okay, because you have
Is there
the
another way?
down here, then the title screen is presented. I
Yeah,
just need
you should be able to
replace
just,
those.
if you use that contact action, you can create that
Okay.
step definition and see what happens. I don't know if it overrides it or adds a new one.
Option enter will give you the context thing.
Yeah, it gives a new one, but this one
Yeah.
goes away. And now my concern is, isn't this dead code?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's extra dead.
Yeah. So the concern I have about this is we don't have a failing test, right? We want this to fail to where we can drop down into Command Option L ought to do that.
Command Option L for what?
Uh,
To drop in a new test?
Should format the lines. Yeah.
I want to remove custom line breaks. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So how are we going to turn this into a failing test? Right? That's my question. And the thing that I'm tripping on is the fact that we've got console input. And when it prompts us, like it's going to hold control. It's going to hold control. So we need something that we can look at that we're not blocking, but we can read from, right? It's almost like we're going to create this thing in a special way for testing, and we're going to give it something special for keyboard input that we can control from the test, and we also need to give it something special for output that we can slurp from in the test.
Yeah, we can use an adapter and we can wrap system in and system out. We can make some kind of class that's some like user interface or something like that, and then we can verify, different inputs and outputs
like that. You're basically talking about using a spy here, which is one that types of test doubles. I think for now, let's just put in after 15. I want to start from a failing test. So for now, let's at least make it fail. Can we just assert that? Assert that it's one function call. The second T is capitalized, and then parentheses, and we can say just say false, and then after that dot is true or something. I want to see it fail. This shouldn't pass. And that would be another function call, I think. Cert J core assertions. No. So before that,
Yeah, you can import that. That should be fine.
really, I haven't seen that work well for me.
The third one, yeah, even that one will work because they have different arguments.
Yeah, I always pull it off of assertions. Which one did we get here?
We got assertions, yeah. So then you just need is true. You just need parentheses at the end, like a method call.
Well, this is assertions for class types. Okay, fine. And so that'll fail, and it's not a good failing test. I actually don't like this because it's not connected in any way with, yeah.
Yeah, if you feel more comfortable, Eddie, you just you can just delete the given one, then run the test, and then copy the code it generates because it has all the throw new cucumber not implemented.
Oh, well, okay, that's interesting. I wonder why this other way doesn't do that.
We have the timer switch. If Steven, if you want to demonstrate what to talk about, because you're the typist next.
Okay.
And so I'm Luca. I'm the navigator.
All right. So I'm gonna.
Normally, we wouldn't ask the typist to do that, Luca, because he's kind of making decisions at the keyboard in that way. But let's go ahead and do it anyway because.
All right.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can always want keep being the typist until we get through this portion.
Just go ahead and yeah. And so this is the typical thing that we would do, right? Like this is the way I've always used Cucumber in the past. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Nice.
Okay. Now we have a failing test.
Yeah. I like this better. Man, there's a lot of decisions to make right up front on this. Anyway, so Luca, if you know where you want to go, that's great. If you don't, we can talk about it.
I don't know where I want to go.
I'm thinking like so the new game is easy, right? We just basically want to create a new game instance there. I would argue.
Call a class named game.
That seems logical.
Works for me. It's at least a place to start. And then we probably want that to be a member variable because we're the way the step definitions work is they're going to get called, and we need to be able to reference it later. One of the things that would be, okay, and and so I'll leave it up to you. You know, it's a start is pretty straightforward. I mean, we're probably going to ask the game to start, right, and then prompted for action. That's the complex one, in my opinion, Luca, because when I look at that, what I see is, it's back to that conversation we were just having. I think we need like a spy or something that we can put around like an output stream. I can't remember if is it a print stream or is it an output stream, but we probably want like a decorator around that. Do you ever heard of a decorator, Luca?
Yeah. I mean, with like, what is it? Override, those types of decorators?
A decorator is something that is an implementation. It's a way of getting behavior by wrapping one thing in another thing, the decorator, that follows the same API or the same interface. So to put it more concretely, if what out is a print stream, and I can't remember this, I have to look at it, then we would want to create a print stream that wraps it. And the purpose of it would be to be a spy a SPY is a type of test double that allows us to, and SPYs, the reason I say SPY is because SPYs give us the opportunity to collect arguments the way that something is called and to observe that later. And so I think we want a decorator SPY that delegates off to the actual system out, but allows us to look at like the last line or something, so that and then that's enough for us to see that we're being prompted, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I think is hard is if you think about what this interaction is like, the very next thing that happens is it interrupts the flow and blocks for input. So I don't know what to do with that. I've never.
I think we probably want to add like a and here and say and the user, and then think of the simplest thing right now that the user can do. Like,
well, I don't think we want something on the and. I don't think we want an and on the then. Because it would be on the when.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're saying when the user is prompted for action?
Yeah, the then is the outcome. This is our assertion, right? And so we don't want to do further action at that point, I don't think. Because
I mean, this acceptance test can get kind of big because we're doing double loop TDD, so it can be something that we have some big goal that we have in mind, some vertical slice, and we drop in and start writing unit tests and we design from the outside and try to.
I mean, well, with the biggest goal is to get out of the cave, right?
Well, that's a little bit too big.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the next biggest goal?
Well, I would say like an end kind of like a small vertical slice of functionality that we can start with.
Yeah, part of me actually thinks that maybe we should go back to like a story map or a test list or even like a discovery tree, right?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's yeah, maybe we jumped into things too quickly.
It's okay. Now it's all part of learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Can I close this, Eddie?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
Now, for sake of time and stuff like that, I will have to get going shortly.
Oh, okay. So, Luca, we talked about doing this for between 2 to 3 hours. I think that. So I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I can potentially do like 2.5 hours consistently.
Okay. And then I think Stephen was wanting to do this every other week. Next week is Mother's Day and your birthday, and Bob's doing his thing. And I don't want to compete with Bob for airtime because I love Bob and I actually want to go to his stuff sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to skip next week. And so from there on out, I don't know. I was wondering if I don't know if you want to keep it every other week. We can just all do it every other week. If you want to do it every week, Stephen can pop in every other week, and you and I can do it every week. I don't know. I just throw it out there as options.
Yeah, but I like the consistency of every week because then I don't have to think about what week I'm on. But I'm also willing to adapt and look at a calendar for 5 seconds.
Yeah,
if I need to.
We can do every week. I just might here and there, depending on my plans,
Okay. Well, then me and Eddie can see what all I can learn between the weeks that you pop in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I don't mind at all that y'all just run with it and I just come in whenever. Yeah.
And yeah, again, if anybody is new watching this, or I don't know if this will be recorded and people can watch it after the fact, but
yes.
if you're new to programming and stuff like that, please don't be intimidated by all of this. A lot of these terms I just learned this morning, or have very vaguely high level understanding of it. So yeah, keep tuning in and keep learning, I guess.
Questions in chat. I mean, you guys can't see the chat, but I can see the chat. So far,
Perfect.
we've only got one person interacting. This is being the fact that we're streaming it to Twitch. It'll be on Twitch for I think 7 days, and the intent is once we finish the stream, I will download that stream and put it up on the Craftsmanship Counts YouTube channel. Maybe the next day, like 24 hours later. I think that there's Twitch gives us the opportunity to try and be an affiliate if we let them have the first day. So we'll probably lean into that a little bit. But this stuff will go up on YouTube too. Are you guys cool with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know I started a channel a long time ago to host my capstone project, so it'd be cool to have more stuff out there.
Yeah, cool. Okay. All right. Let's see. So I think I heard a ding.
Yeah.
Steven,
yeah, I'm Steven. I'm the navigator.
Maybe I'm the typist.
I'm Luca. I am a observer.
Okay.
Participant.
Okay, Eddie, so I made this test list, and I was just looking through here, and I think that we might want to start with just some kind of the user prompt and then the user responds. And I think the simplest thing we can do is a command that doesn't exist. So we have I don't understand that, English, please. I think using an unknown command might be the easiest like skeleton to build out here.
Nice.
And so I think, yeah, we'll talk about some of the scenarios in this test list, but I think that might be the easiest to start with an unknown command.
And we such as like we're going to throw an error for. Is that what you're talking about?
It will. It's right here. When the system can't understand the command, it should prompt, "I don't understand that. English, please." So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if instead of rather than one of the things that's making this complex for us right now is we're talking about it in such a way that we're stopping at the prompt. But if we know that the prompt is the simple thing, and it's about the commands that we enter, maybe we stop getting boxed up on. Sorry, I'm letting myself talk because we're kind of out of design. We're talking about other stuff.
Yeah. Forget the rules. We're all just talking.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do.
What if we made it about responding to prompts? And so instead of getting boxed up around testing that the prompt comes out a certain way, because the prompt is probably always going to be the same, we make it about the interaction. So it's like when
well, let me correct you. This prompt happens at the game startup, and then the system will respond based on what the user. Then there's different. There's not always a prompt, but I guess there's some kind of response. So if you go north, then you are in a new place, and the system will tell you where you are. You're down by a stream. And it's like, what do you want to do next? Or, maybe that's the prompt. But yeah, I totally agree. I think this is such a simple thing right here. And the real complex part is what is the user input and what does the system respond with?
So to me, this is the prompt. Mm-hmm. This is a side effect of a command. Right? Mm-hmm. This is startup. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm wrong. But the way I was looking at it is this is a prompt, and this stuff is a side effect. Maybe there's start with an initial side effect is that you're lost. But yeah, no, okay, you're right. I was just trying to think of a way to simplify it. But the thing, so maybe. Maybe there's the first set, maybe what shows the title and main description. When the player moves to another location, the system will always prompt title and main description.
Oh, always.
Huh.
Oh yeah, okay. But the description will change. Like,
so that is the prompt. No, you're right. That is the prompt. I guess I was trying to separate the things that it said from. Um, um,
so see the title here, Lost in Shoreditch. Like that's like the
yeah,
title.
yeah.
And then the rest is the description. And I guess every location has a title and a description.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Some way of knowing you're progressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Could we actually just write that down? Let's say like location, just to start thinking object oriented, I guess. Like a location has a title and description. Yeah, ubiquitous language. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got.
So location has a title and description. I mean, it says main description, but I think description is fine.
How do you guys feel about that?
Yep.
That looks good now, unless there's like a secondary description that will come into play later. But yeah, it seems fine.
I think there's a way you can soft wrap this if you right click on the file up here. I don't know. That's fine. It's some other setting. Okay. All right. So we have location. All right. I think we can just leave that there and go back to the test list. I just wanted to get that down.
Yeah. So I just did Command Option back arrow. Okay. Unknown command. Yeah. So I guess I'm still a little stuck there. Like, and by the blocking, I'm trying to think like how the hell are we going to test the blocking? Is this just like something we need to research?
What? I don't know. What do you? Okay, so if we run the application like not in a test, right? We would say system in, you would type something, click enter, and then you would get that back. But like I would say like if we create an interface, like I'm thinking this as I wasn't thinking the decorator thing you were talking about. I was thinking like an interface, which is like a command line or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that can take an input. So it takes an input from the user, and so we could yeah, and then it produces side effects, which is the command of saying what the system will respond. So then as for testing, we don't need to worry about blocking because we would basically, I guess, we would pass in. I don't know. I guess.
Yeah.
I think I now I'm getting what you're stuck at.
Yeah. Yeah. And so part of me wonders if I'm really trying to think of what to do with that. Let me share this with you guys. Anybody can edit, and then we'll give you the board link. Come on, where are you at? You are. Don't switch devices. What are we doing here?
Yeah, no. So if say think of it, if it's some method like get input, then you would stub that in a test, and you would just stub whatever the user uh would enter.
Hmm.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It would
Um,
that would be your query, right? So you're querying the user, and so that your query that would be your stub. So, and I think it would just be a simple interface that has a query and a command. Query is getting input from the user. Command is what is the system going to respond with? You just gave me hello, and I don't understand that command. And I'm going to respond with, I don't understand that. English, please.
okay,
And
okay.
that would basically be, that would probably need to be, a test double in all of our tests so
So
that we don't have a blocking situation.
yeah, so I'm gonna sketch a little bit here as we're talking, and we can
Sure.
delete all this. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to not be test driven, but I think what we're saying is
Yeah. Let's spike.
we've got a game, and the game is giving us like
Mm-hmm.
right, and so we would throw stuff on the display and then ask user input for stuff, right, and
Mm-hmm.
so and then we can control this. And the nice thing is, we're really simplified at this point because we would have an alternate implementation for tests. We'd have a test double, and then we would have basically implementations of these that would delegate off to a system in, system out as we're. Yeah, I'm good with that. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
way I was thinking about it too, but I didn't want to just like, um, okay. So, okay.
Yeah. I don't really, I haven't used decorator that much. So I wasn't really sure. I'm not really sure what you had in mind with that, but I was just thinking simple interfaces and just test doubles. And that gets us around the whole system in, system out part.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why I thought about the decorator first. I think because I think of those system in and out as being very concrete. And I wasn't thinking about totally pulling it back to abstraction. I think historically, when I'm interacting with the console, I'm just interacting with the console, right?
Hmm.
I have better techniques for doing that now, but I haven't applied them in that context. And so,
Yeah. Since we're on the topic of test doubles, what's your view on like mocking libraries and Mockito?
very mixed. I actually think that the mock is the last thing you should reach for. Is my 2 cents. Um,
Yeah, I've
it,
been trying to kind of get away from it. I've been using a lot in enterprise, but I've been trying to write test doubles by hand more
mhm,
often.
yeah,
And test doubles, we're saying that a lot, but honestly, I don't know what that means.
yeah. There's it's like a stunt double, right?
Mm.
When something dangerous comes up, you got an actor. They've got to stand in. Um, test doubles are the same idea. There's a
Mm.
set of them, and they get more complex. You have stubs. All stub knows how to do is one thing, right? And so it could be now you could parameterize it. So maybe we've got maybe we have a user response or user command stub that basically all it does is it throws it always gives the same command to the system, right? And in the test, we tell it what we want it to give, right? But all it does, it's got no sense other than here you go. So when you call it, it just gives you this thing, right? And this is a great way to get. We call it secondary input from from something that you're calling. This could actually database input is a good example of secondary input. You do a query, you get input to the system that came from somewhere else, right? Um, um, Stubs, really simple. And then from stub, the next thing I think of is like a spy. Like I want to observe what I sent to something,
Mhm.
and then and then you get into like the idea of verification. You get into mocks, and mocks basically. So with a stub or a spy, you may manually validate it, but by the time you get to a mock, the mock will self validate. So it's you're telling it, I want you to behave like this, and then it can validate, say that it behaved that way. And then the next one, which actually is even better, is a fake. And a fake is something you implement that you would never use it in production, but it's a great stand-in for testing and development. An example of this could be an in-memory repository, right? So you would not use that, probably wouldn't use that in production. Actually, when I have a static data set, sometimes I do use them in production because I know that data set's going to grow and I'm going to get it from somewhere else. So I have used them in production, but there's different ways, different types of test doubles, and most of the time, frankly, the best one you can use is just a stupid do this. Oh, and the one I left out that's simpler than all those is a dummy, and the best dummy is null if you can get away from it, because dummy means I don't care. I'm not going to call it. I have to pass it as a parameter. It's required in this context, but it's never going to get called, right? So.
Okay, thank you. That was super helpful.
And there's an article. Hey, Dota, look at that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Dota 2 attitude is talking here. It says for a system out, we wrapped in a method, then built a separate class that extended the original and overrode that method. Yeah, so yeah, a little bit like a spy. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like subclass and override from like working with legacy code. Yeah. But, I mean, if we just have an interface just dedicated to that, display or user input, we can just use an interface and implement that. Have a testing implementation and then have the real like main implementation.
This is my favorite one because we get away from having to implement all the stuff that's on the print stream, right? Like screw that. Let's and we're leaning into system using print stream would be, you could argue that that's sort of a case of primitive obsession. Look, if we're thinking about the 7 values, 7 virtues of code that we talked about in technical excellence with Tim Ottinger.
Yeah.
This would be a primitive obsession versus being developed. Creating a concept for it would be more of a developed solution, right? So it's virtuous to go that way.
I would love a resource on that. I don't know the 7 principles you're talking about.
Oh yeah, I'll find those. Industrial Logic, great website.
Oh yeah.
And great blog on there. Here, I'll share this in our tuple. No.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, because this is something we actually want to give to people, right? What if we had like
here, I put in our Slack channel if you want to share that.
Some resources there. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But here's test doubles, and then
here I have the link, so I'll go ahead if you want to type, that's fine.
That one.
Yep.
You're supposed to be the typist right now. Why am I typing? Bad navigator.
That's fine. I think we're just I think we can get kind of loose on the roles right now. We're just discussing.
Yeah, we've also passed the marker. Like, I'm gonna have to get wrapping up here soon.
Yeah. Okay. No worries, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good stuff. By the way, I may need to make that repo public. I'll make this repo public where you guys can see this as we go along.
Perfect.
And I don't know that it is public right now. I tend to make things private by default for some reason. So I'm silly like that.
Eddie, I can stay on for a little bit longer.
Okay.
Yeah.
If y'all do any more, that's cool. I will just check out the video afterwards.
So Luca, normally what I would ask you to do is go over to the ensemble, go to the timer and just take yourself out. If you go to the mob tab, there's a dot, and there's a little X, and you just take yourself out.
Perfect. All right. So that gets that going. And I will see y'all in a couple weeks.
That's
See you, buddy. Have a good hey, happy birthday if I don't see you.
Yeah. Thank you. Later.
Yeah. I mean, do we know enough? I think we may know enough now, Stephen, that we could actually do something with it. You want to?
Well, I kind of can we time box maybe 5 to 10 minutes thinking about a test list and thinking about your next steps, or do you just think maybe the unknown command, just start with that?
I'm okay either way. I mean, we've talked about this enough now, and given that we've leaned into
bias to action, let's just start something.
Yeah, well, we've already got our one, and I think we understand that enough better now. I think we've got a solution for it, so that we could we can deal with this ourselves, right? Okay. So I think we're ready to go with the first one. We could do another one. The unknown one could be another one, but we've already got the startup. I think we can do this, right?
No.
And so our display, yeah, we'll display. We're basically going to give our display a location, but the location that we give it is going to have a title and a description, right? So we could.
Hey Eddie, Dota's asking for the Kata link. I don't have permission to, because I haven't been a follower of you for more than a month. There's some kind of restriction. So I guess could you share that link out?
I just turned the shield off, so you can share.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this is the kata that we're working on. Another cool thing about this is I heard that they're writing a book about this, where they're going to use like hexagonal architecture and domain-driven design doing this whole kata.
Sure.
So that's pretty cool.
That'll be interesting.
Okay, so let's do the unknown command. You want to do that?
Yeah, or we could go ahead with this first one. In fact, we need to.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The
we need to teach it about yes, the unknown command and the initial prompt. But, yeah. Do we need the I'm gonna start our timer. You're actually typing, but I'm gonna start our timer. Do you think we need also I'm going to I'm gonna change the rotation to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Do you think we need even to have in our first acceptance test, do we need to have anything about a command, or can we just make it about the prompt?
Yeah. I think we should maybe we can rename the scenario to unknown command, and then say given a game is in progress or something like that, when the user...
Well, we still have to do this one, right? We still have to do this one because we need to teach it about. We need to teach it to. It's the same thing, but
so we want to use this as like a dummy. The user is prompted for action, and we just kind of I don't know.
Yeah, actually, I would argue that what we need is we need an and um, on the given that says and given a new game and a starting location. Um, and then the starting location, we want to send in. We want to tell it that title and description, right? Because we want to feed that in as data into the game, and so that it can give it back to us, right? We want to see that we give it that when it's at that location, give it a new game. Um, we don't want to just well, I guess we could hard code it, but eventually we need to know that we can.
Because we'll always have like a different location. So you're
Yeah, but this is specifically startup, right? And
yeah.
startup, according to the README, um, startup is this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, this is the starting location of the maze,
Yeah.
and yeah. So, so I think that again, I think um, um, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too deep, and the thing I'm getting into is more of a unit. Um, uh, what if we just said, yeah, let's look at the feature. Start new game. When the game starts, the user is prompted. The user then the user is at the start location.
Okay.
And then this can be, yeah, okay. And then what we'll do here is we'll look for that start location is out of the README, right? Given that title and that description.
Okay.
And I think I don't. We could put it here or not. I think certainly we're going to have a unit test at some point that we, yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
would
don't
you
know.
do here, since this is more of an acceptance test?
I'm just thinking this is so like shallow, I guess. Like usually these kind of like double loop TDD, it's a bigger chunk, and then you kind of go into the smaller steps in a unit test. I guess that's what I'm thinking of. But
Okay, so what do you think the scenario is?
um,
You're right. Usually a scenario would be like a multi-step thing, but I always look at like one piece that we're doing here is we're going through all the layers, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Let's
so
just do this. Let's do this. Yeah.
it's from the way that the user would use it, which is why we're bothering to encumber ourselves with all this worry about consoles and prompting and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that is, so I see this as two things. I see it as that the single feature, and then yes, we could actually have more complex scenarios also, but we're going to build the more complex scenarios out of this. We don't want. I still wouldn't want something that's going to take us like a dog year to implement, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so this is our little vertical slice. So let's just start with this. Given a new game when the game starts, then the user is at the start location. I like that. All right.
Yeah, and yeah, the user is at the start location means that we want to look at the display to see what the last prompt was, right?
Yeah.
And looking at the last prompt is going to drive us to need that abstraction. So we could start in the user is at the start location and set up our assertion and work back if you want.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay. What are you thinking?
Literally, well, by the time we're looking at it on the display, um, um, we could either, if display is a spy, then we could observe that the last location, because the prompt is going to show a location. Well, I guess it's going to show different things. So, do we need to look at what it spit out and look at the last? Look at it as text.
Yeah, I think we want this. I think this is. We can start with copying that and this lost and shore ditch. I think we want all that output out there, and where we get that from is the display, maybe last, last line or something like that, last output.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. There's going to be multiple things here. There's the title, there's the description, but this last part, a small stream of crafted beer flows out of the building. Is that part of the description, or is that? Let's start with thinking that that's part of the description. And so, yeah, we'll just look basically at the last. I don't know the last. If it's part of the description, then it's in the location. So if display is a spy, then we can grab the location, and that's the stuff that's in it, right?
Yeah. It's like what
But
did
that
it turn out to the system?
but that's a is that more of a unit test though? I mean, because from the user, if I'm looking at it from the user perspective, I don't care what display was given. I care what it displayed, right? And that's the thing. That's the thing that I'm struggling with, because with it being text based, what I would like to do is say like the last line or the last couple of lines, but we're not really going to know how many lines it is. I don't think.
Yeah. Dota's talking a lot in the chat. Maybe we should. Uh, yeah, TDDing the acceptance test seems difficult since the requirements aren't fully defined without the unit test built out. Yeah, I always find that this acceptance test part does take a little bit longer, but it helps. We are kind of trying to figure out the domain right now, and it does look like it's taking a long time because we're trying to clarify what we're going to do,
Yeah.
and I think it's worth it because we're clarifying, we're designing, we're trying to think what is this going to look like, and we're also trying to understand the domain a little bit more, so that it does kind of kill that TDD cycle in the beginning. But once you get that acceptance test
Yeah.
that's clear, then you start to run a little bit more.
Well, we're establishing a lot of conventions right now, right? We've got nothing. We're starting from zero. By the way, we've only got, I think we've only got about 10 minutes left. I don't love anything that we're talking about.
So I mean, what's wrong with this saying like display get last output, okay, is equal to the string I copied here, right? And then display is our and spy really, but because we're gonna hand roll this spy, like if we were using Makito, I might use a verify here and say verify.
I think this is
You know,
good because we're going to have something that formats the location into a prompt, right? And so you're going to format the location into the prompt and then give it to the display. I would
yeah.
argue, yeah. So I like this. I could see this being possible.
Okay. So if this were a field here called display,
What about get last prompt? Because arguably this whole thing is as a prompt, right?
yeah, because almost everything that the system responds, it's prompting because it's like, okay, your turn. It's
Yeah,
like a conversation. Get
yeah.
last prompt, I like better.
Yeah, I think we're going to take some domain object. In this case, it's a location. We're going to format it down to a prompt, and then we're going to feed. We're going to ask the display to show the prompt.
Yeah. And so, I mean, as we get to the unit level, we'll drop down to the game and we'll start thinking about those relationships. But I think this is the output bound, like the outer boundaries, like, and this is the system in, system out that we don't want. We want to have a shell around that, and yeah. So I think this is the good.
I like it.
I think this is a
Yeah,
good approach.
I like it.
Okay.
It's my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then should we create this like interface for this? Are you doing
I think
that?
it's an interface. Yeah, I think so.
I wasn't sure if I was doing that or you. I'll call it, just put in an adapter package for now, because I mean we are using this as like an adapter.
Well, the adapter would be the implementation, but I don't care.
Okay.
That's fine.
All
I
right.
think we don't have enough. We don't have enough code to know where stuff goes yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Sure.
So you got the type, so you could create the and then
be a string.
yeah, I think so.
Okay. And then I guess what about here? We just start the game?
I think so. Yeah, just game.start.
And I think we're missing something here, because I think we want to feed something into the game, right?
Yeah, I think when we create the game, that we've got to give it the display.
Yeah.
And we don't even have anything that makes us need to worry about user input yet. So we can just do this, I think. And
Dota's saying stub the display in the method. Yeah, I was thinking about just making implementation as a class down here for now until we need it other places.
Well, I mean, you're going to have.
We'll probably need a some kind of stub. Oh no, this is not the stub. This is the I guess the hand rolled spy. I guess a spy.
Yeah, and so I don't know if it's. Yeah, I guess actually it is a spy because it's capturing stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it's a spy display.
Okay. So should I implement that spy now?
Well,
we should run the test, right? I don't know.
You're going to wind up needing to. Yeah, I'm with you, Dota. Yeah.
Basically copy the output and refactor.
Yeah. Well, and so if it's get last prompt.
So I haven't initialized display at all right now.
Well, yeah. So we know that we want this to be a spy display, right? So
Yeah.
I would say that in probably.
Do you want something like that
in the new game part? Yeah, you could do it there, or do it in the new game. New game is basically kind of our setup. But this is fine.
Well, I do need a reference to this because I use it down here. We need a.
Well, I understand that, but you don't necessarily have to assign it here, right?
Okay.
Gotcha. I don't think that we're going to create more than one display per scenario, and we're always going to go through a new game. Like in my head, everything starts with a new game, right? And then from there, yeah. So either way, I'm good with either way. I think. And we can always refactor later.
What do you want to call that implementation of the display, the spy?
I think it's a spy display.
Yeah.
That's the best name I've got right now.
That's also what I was thinking. Okay.
And then
I'll create that and just put that in the production code or the test code.
I think it's test stuff, and
Okay.
I wouldn't really worry about
Yeah,
packing this real a lot right now. I think let's just
we can
make a
refactor all
clean
that.
it up.
Okay, so let's implement this then.
Yeah. Now, so this is interesting because okay, let's stop and think about this. Display probably doesn't care about get less prompt, but spy display does. But let's not worry
Oh,
about that right now.
mm,
Let's worry about getting this step def started.
right.
Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so let's look back at the def, and so if we run this right now, then we've got enough we can run, and this will fail. And now it's actually connected to the game, right? So, well, why is it? Because we want game start to display something, right? We want it to
Yeah.
display the stuff, and so we could. The easy thing to do would just be display prompt and give it the static stuff again, right? And then we can, yeah. Is that making sense?
Um, yeah, what do you want me to do next? I don't think I understood that.
Yeah, so game start. So internally, game start needs to call display.prompt.
I think that um okay, so do you want me to go to game?
Yeah, so start would call display.prompt, and it would send that big
Let
old.
me put a field in here.
Yeah, that's fine. You have to. I would look at that as an obvious implementation personally. But
All right. Prompt?
yeah, prompt, and then all that stuff, and then we can back it out into from very concrete to yeah.
Text?
Um, yeah, I
What
think
would
that's
you
fine.
what would you call it?
I, I'm conflicted between prompt and text. Let's put something, and if it doesn't sit well with us, we'll do
Yeah.
something about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds good. All right. We probably have a problem because we have this that doesn't.
yeah, that's fine.
And yeah, so we basically, I mean, we kind of want to like save the whatever this happens to something so that this has access to it, right?
Yeah, and in fact, in our spy, the whole reason that we're calling um, prompt is so that we can know what the last prompt was.
Yeah. So, so should we have some kind of variable up here and store that?
Yeah, you have
Kind
to,
of,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I haven't done this many times. I'm gonna so
yeah, and so I'd just say, I would lean into what you got there. Last prompt is.
something like that.
Yeah. A little bit of a big step, but and I think that actually gets us over to passing. And now we're in a position that we can start thinking about design of like, oh well, shit, how'd the prompt know that it was that, right? But I think that's a good stopping place for us today.
Yeah.
Um, this has been hey for you guys that all you're seeing is this part. We got together 3 hours ago. We started working through the technology. We're using Restream, using Tuple. Started doing a little bit of just like, hey, how are we going to work together? Nice to meet you stuff. Luke and Steven didn't know each other, so it doesn't seem like we got very far. But this is actually a really productive day.
Yeah, it's good. I think it was
I'm
fun.
looking forward. So we'll be back in 2 weeks, and I'll get a schedule set up on Twitch so you guys know when we're going to be here. And thanks, Dota. Great to see you. Thanks for stopping in, and hopefully we'll see you again next time. Do we want to do like a commit, and might even be able to do a push, and
I usually let me see. I don't know. I usually go through the files. Maybe we can. That doesn't seem to be working. Usually, oh, here it is. Oh, that's very.
I tend to do that when if I'm working alone, I go through the files for sure.
Yeah. All right,
And
let's commit.
sometimes when I'm pairing, I do, but usually if I'm working in an ensemble, I just expect that, by golly, if we're doing something you don't like, you talk about it now.
Yeah, maybe next time we can do more frequent commits.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to do that too. Yeah, we're not very granular right now.
Yeah, but we also didn't maybe do enough to warrant a commit. So yeah, but I think this is good. So let's say can place, I don't know. I was gonna say can place a user at start position, but
Yeah.
game starts with user at start location.
I love it. Sounds great. Notice on board too. Oh, you got 4 viewers. Look at that. I'm actually really excited about this. Steve,
Yeah.
we're all at different levels of experience, got different perspectives. I think this is going to be a really fun stream.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
I'm excited.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks then.
Back in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. Bye.